Hi, Emma. Are you, are you the second person that I can see on my screen? Hopefully you're hearing me loud and clear. Hello to those of you that have just joined. I'm David. We're a little early, so we're just testing out the technology. I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to this stuff. So we're just making sure it's working, and we'll be underway very soon. And I've just had confirmation from Emma that people can hear me, which is a good start, hopefully. Thank you, Patricia. And I've seen your message. That's great and very reassuring. Thanks for your message as well, Judith. It's great to be here. This is a new experience for me. I've not done this sort of thing on YouTube before. I think many of us are now au fait with platforms like Zoom. So this is a new experience. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you don't mind me slurping tea on camera. Hello, Helen. Glad you could join us. Oh, Patricia, you've got tea and chocolate. If only you could share. Oh, our numbers are slowly increasing. I can see that we're up to 7, so that's great. Now, according to the little clock on my screen, we've got about a minute to go. Emma, if you can hear me, is it worth just holding on for another couple of minutes? Okay, thanks for that. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's David Harding. I'm Support and Development Manager at Herefordshire Mind, and I'm genuinely delighted to have been invited along this afternoon. I hope we can have a good chat, a little bit of debate even, but I thought I would just start by giving a little bit of context about who I am and who Herefordshire Mind are as an organisation. So I've worked for Herefordshire Mind for nearly 13 years. Prior to that, I spent 17 years working in the commercial sector in banking. Try not to judge me, and I wasn't responsible for the crash back in 2008. But at the end of those 17 years, I had my own mental health crisis, I guess you would call it. Never having experienced mental health problems before that. And it culminated in me attempting to end my own life. I was hospitalized and spent some significant time in recovery after that. At the end of that process, and during it, in fact, I had to do an awful lot of reevaluation. So came out the other side, thankfully, and realized that I needed to do something different. So I went away and retrained as a counsellor and psychotherapist. And then a role came up at Herefordshire Mind, and the rest, as they say, is history. And I've worn various hats during my time here. Herefordshire Mind is an independent charity. We support those experiencing mental health challenges right across the county of Herefordshire, and we've been around for 42 years now. Our origins came from the closure of the local mental health asylum, as it would have been back in the Victorian era, and one of our specialisms throughout our existence has been around housing and mental health, which sadly continues to be a huge issue across society. So we provide a home for around 20 individuals, together with other services, including a community support team. So we have a team of people working right across the county, one-to-one with people in their own homes. We have a community hub, which is where I'm talking to you from in Hereford, where we run a variety of daytime activities. That's been quite challenging in the last few months, but we've been able to, like your good selves, change the way that we deliver what we do. So we do an awful lot of things online or across various platforms, but we have managed to reopen in a limited way to run our art space program from here. And behind me, you will see some of the work that some of our artists have created. From our site here at Heffernan House, we also run a service called Safe Haven. Safe Haven was commissioned and opened, I think, the week before lockdown occurred. Safe Haven is a space for people who are experiencing emotional health challenges in whatever way. And during lockdown, we've been providing that support through both telephone and email, although I am now delighted to say that we are accepting people to come into the building for face-to-face support as well. We also deliver a range of training out in the community to businesses and others. So that's a short précis of who I am and who we are as an organisation. I think the last few months have been exceptional for all of us. And I know, having had conversations with Emma when she first moved to the area and was looking at setting up Sing Out Strong, things have to change. And the challenge for all of us has been the rate of change that we've all experienced. I wanted to highlight a piece of research that we did as a national organisation, which was published at the end of June. We went out to the public asking how the coronavirus crisis had impacted on their mental health. And we had over 16,000 responses. So it's a significant piece of research. What we found, and some of the headlines, are that both adults and young people with pre-existing mental health problems had seen big declines in their mental health since lockdown. And I guess that probably doesn't come as a big surprise. We also found that loneliness was a key contributor to the decline in emotional well-being of people. Again, no surprises there, but quite often loneliness is associated with older people. But what we found from the research was that one of the most impacted groups were young people between the ages of 18 and 24. One of the other challenges, which is very troubling to me, is that one of the biggest barriers to receiving any form of support was not feeling worthy of it. And that was the phrase that was used continually. That's very troubling, but I think also understandable. For those people that are possibly experiencing emotional difficulties for the first time, it can be very frightening, can be very isolating. So the step of reaching out and asking for help, and I know from personal experience, can be the biggest challenge that you face. I think as a society, we are overall better able to talk more openly about how we feel and the impact of our emotions on how we function. But sometimes there is a challenge around speaking to those that you trust around you and reaching out to someone outside of that. And I guess one of my messages is it can be the hardest step to take, but it's also vitally important that people are aware that there are all sorts of people out there, whether that's through NHS services or organisations like ourselves, who are there to help, who are ready and willing to help. So if any message gets taken away from this, I would say that everybody is worthy of help when they need it. Again, not surprisingly, possibly, young people showed some of the most difficult challenges, the impact of the COVID crisis on their own mental health. And out of the people that responded, a quarter of 13 to 24-year-olds with existing mental health problems were using self-harming as a coping mechanism. That's also very concerning. And I think, again, we need to be far better at supporting our young people and allowing them a space, a non-judgmental space, to be able to talk about how they feel and offer support. What we've missed, particularly for young people through this crisis, has been structure. So friendship groups, structures around school have disappeared in large part, and that has been incredibly difficult for a lot of young people to deal with. I hope that as things start to become, I hesitate to use the word normal, but I shall in this context, more normal, shall we say, and young people are able to access the support networks through schools and colleges, that they will be able to find additional means of support. Interestingly, and I suppose it's relevant for Sing Out Strong, connecting with people, whether that's friends, families, or groups such as Sing Out Strong online, has been the most popular way to cope for both adults and young people. So I think the fact that Sing Out Strong has become this incredible success story, not only is down to the dedication of Emma and those that support her in this project, but it also highlights the need for all of us to have social contact. And whilst nothing beats social contact in a physical sense, being together in a room, if for reasons that are outside of our control, having a support network, and whether that's friends or family, or groups such as Sing Out Strong available to them, people gain so much from that, because you have a sense of community, even if you are sat staring at a screen on your dining room table. And that's really, really important. So I would absolutely and wholeheartedly endorse everything that you are doing with Sing Out Strong, because it is a proven method of helping people to support their own mental well-being. I also have a slight concern that what we don't want to do as a society at large is medicalize what could be called normal distress. We have all lived through unprecedented times, and for all of us, that has been stressful in a variety of ways. And it can be argued that for those that are experiencing increased levels of stress, anxiety, low mood, that in large part is a normal response to what we've all been experiencing. We have no frame of reference for this. So I think it's important that we all collectively are able to support those that we know and love, in the knowledge that you are able to help yourself. Initiatives such as Sing Out Strong, but any form of connection is really important. And again, I know from my own experience that emotional distress fundamentally is isolating. When your mind is in turmoil, it's very difficult sometimes to find any form of words that can make sense of what you're experiencing. So I think being able to connect with people in whatever way is critically important for collectively for our all of our own well-being. So I would encourage you to continue what you're doing with Sing Out Strong and any other initiatives that you're involved with, connections through any other media channels to other groups as well. It's important that we talk about mental health. It is important that we seek support. One of the concerns is that whilst more and more people are feeling more able to talk about their emotional health and seek support, sometimes it is difficult to find the support that you need at the time that you need it. And that talks in large part to the pressures that are on, for example, the NHS services that are available. And I'm not by any means denigrating the work that they do, but I think one of the inevitable results of this crisis is dramatic and increased demand for health and social care services. There isn't an easy fix to that. I think there are structural issues that need to be addressed. It's not just about money, but it is important that, for example, organisations like ours do challenge the status quo and say, actually, things need to be better. As a national organisation, we've issued 5 tests for the UK government, and those are investing in community services, so local services, protecting those most at risk. We've also called for reform of the Mental Health Act, providing a financial safety net for those in emotional distress, and supporting children and young people. Now, those 5 headings are easy to say, complex, difficult and challenging to resolve, and in all honesty, those things are not going to be fixed overnight. But there is a groundswell of recognition by both local government as well as national government that this crisis has had a huge impact on the mental health of our society. And I think over time, we will see more resource and increased capacity to help people in a timely fashion. For example, one of those things that's come our way is our Safe Haven service, which is absolutely about supporting people when they need us. So we intentionally created that service to be out of hours because we know that emotional crisis doesn't happen necessarily Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So our service is open from 5 till 10 p.m. At the moment, 3 nights a week, but we're hoping to increase that. We also have national initiatives. So one that I would highlight is an online chat platform called Side by Side, which you can find online. And that's an incredibly supportive community. It's moderated, but it's an incredibly supportive community of people who find it easier to talk on platforms like that. So there are changes, arguably, and one of the many reasons I have no hair is that these changes, I don't feel, happen quickly enough, but change is happening, and so I am genuinely hopeful that we will see better support for those that need it, and us and others that provide that support. I'm not sure whether any of you are aware of another model that's quite frequently used called the 5 Ways to Wellbeing. You may well have discussed this at Sing Out Strong before, but I think it is important, particularly at this time where we are all feeling disconnected in various ways, to remember that there are things, simple things, that we are able to do for ourselves and with the support of those around us. So one of them is connecting. And hey, here we are talking on YouTube, and I think there's immense value in maintaining those connections. But it can also be things like writing letters, and that's been an interesting statistic that's come out. Lots of people have started writing letters to each other, and I don't know about you, but actually it's quite nice to hear a letter drop through the letterbox from someone that you know. Learning, well, hey, again, Sing Out Strong is a classic example of learning, albeit through a different platform at the moment. But that helps to keep the old grey matter active. It's a positive action to take. Being active, now that's been a challenge, particularly at the early part of lockdown, but increasingly as life resembles a form of normality, being physically active is also really, really important. There's an awful lot of evidence research that backs up the need to be physically active to improve your emotional well-being. Taking notice, and that is very much around just taking a moment for ourselves, just to check in with ourselves and recognize how we are in the moment for that day, for that week, and possibly breaking that down so that you possibly think about 3 things in a day that you might be thankful for. They can be very small things. The fact that someone that you live with has made you a cup of tea, for example. But a little bit of gratitude that filters into our day is, I think, hugely valuable. And the 5th one is give. And that's not about grand gestures. That's about having a chat with our next door neighbour, for example, just passing the time of day, and encouraging other people, possibly to join Sing Out Strong, but giving of yourself in even a small way has proven benefits for your mood. So I think we're not post-COVID, and we won't be for some considerable time, or so it appears. So we all have to find a new way of being, and we have been forced into this new way of being almost against our will, but we have to recognize that things are different and are going to be different for some considerable time, but that if as a society we can become kinder and more compassionate to ourselves as well as to other people, then we stand as good a chance as we possibly can of remaining healthy in these strange times. I think probably that's as much as I feel it's appropriate to say at this point. I would actively encourage you to seek out our website if you search for Herefordshire Mind, because there are links to all sorts of resources on there. I would also just make a shout out for something that's coming up, which some of you may be interested in participating in. On the 21st of September, we will be celebrating Mindful Monday. So thinking back to the 5 ways of well-being, you might want to join us on the 21st when we will be offering an hour of activity online with 2 friends of our organisation, Liz and Anna, which will include some breathing techniques, some simple Pilates and some relaxation. So watch out for our website and social media for further information. So that's the end of my plug for what we're doing at the moment. I guess, has anybody got any questions? Doesn't seem like it at the moment. I've obviously stunned you all into silence. Okay, so the question is, what's the first thing you would say to someone who is struggling to cope with the new normal? Talk to someone. There's an old adage, isn't there, of a problem shared is a problem halved. I think whilst the person you may share that with may not be able to resolve the problem, at least you are able to talk about it. But talking is absolutely the fundamental key for us individually and collectively to be able to deal with the challenges that we're all living through at the moment. So absolutely talk to someone. And that might be someone that is near and dear to you. It might be to organisations like us. But never, ever be afraid to reach out and talk, because people won't judge you, won't judge you. That's my pleasure, Emma. Well, thank you again for this opportunity. It's been lovely to virtually talk to you all. Do by all means keep in touch and keep up the amazing work that you are doing with Sing Out Strong. And I can't wait to see your next work. Okay, so Patricia has said that I think that unless you've struggled yourself, lots of people don't understand. I think that's that can be true, but equally, from the experience that we've seen with innumerable conversations that have happened, is that actually lots and lots of people have struggled and have not opened up. And interestingly, we frequently see conversations occur where someone starts talking about a struggle that they are experiencing, and the other person starts opening up too. So I think emotional struggles are more common than any of us might assume. So I wouldn't use that as a barrier for concern around opening up. Yes, it's important that you open up to the right people. And it's a brave thing to do, actually, to be able to open up and go, do you know what? I'm really not feeling great at the moment. Do you mind if I talk about it? That's a hard thing to do. And there isn't a one size fits all. For some people, it's easier to talk to a loved one. For other people, it can be easier to talk to organisations such as ourselves. There isn't, as I say, a one size fits all. But recognising that reaching out is possible, and recognising in yourself that you will feel anxious, maybe scared about that, but knowing that you can, hopefully will provide you with a strong enough foundation to be able to open up. And it's a starting point. It can be a small step. It's not necessarily right at the get-go about bearing your soul to what you're experiencing. But I think taking that breath and taking that step is possible. I'm just reading comments, so bear with me a moment. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so Judith is also mentioning domestic abuse and domestic violence. That's a very, very complex area. It can be incredibly difficult for anybody who finds themselves in that situation to practically be able to reach for help. There are organisations that do support, so locally across Herefordshire and Worcestershire, there's Women's Aid who do a huge amount of work in this area. I have to be honest, it's not my specialist field. I think also it's about recognising if you have concerns for people that you may come across that you wonder if there is an issue at home, offering a listening ear. And we talk a lot about ask twice in general terms when it comes to mental health. So good old British Reserve means that quite often you'll say, hi, how are you? And the automatic response is, oh, fine, thanks. If you're still concerned, you ask again, not necessarily immediately afterwards, but you repeat that message. So actually what it's doing is offering up a message that you're there if they need you. So I think it's about being aware and about being confident enough to offer that, as I say, that listening ear. But it's very complicated with dependency in certainly in domestic abuse situations, which can be incredibly challenging to unravel. I don't know whether that helps or not, Judith. I don't know if anyone else has any questions. Thanks, Jude. Patricia mentions Mind has lost funding. So often professional help is unaffordable. It's true. When I look back across the 12 or 13 years that I've been involved at Herefordshire Mind, that funding has become a whole lot harder. But there are routes to support. I've cited our Safe Haven service, which is relatively new. We are hopeful that there's going to be a new project being launched very soon, which is going to be working directly out in the community across Herefordshire. I can't really give you too many more details at the moment because that's still being worked out, but do genuinely keep an eye on our website for further updates on that. I don't think it's necessarily a case of either or when it comes to help. Yes, private talking therapies are quite often unaffordable for many people. There are programs available through the NHS for talking therapy. That revolves around a methodology called CBT, or cognitive behavioural therapy, and they use various routes to support people with that. I am aware that there can be waiting lists, so it's not ideal. And again, I don't denigrate the work that they do in any way. But it goes back to my points earlier around the changes that we need to see are not going to happen overnight, sadly. We are hopeful as an organisation that we will, in the not too distant future, be able to offer some form of talking therapy service. I can't, again, make a commitment on that at the moment, but it's something that we are very aware of. That's needed, and we're working really hard to try and make that happen. So there isn't an easy fix, but we do keep trying our level best to make sure that these services do happen. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay. Thanks, Emma. Thank you to everyone, and thank you. That's a really nice comment. Thank you, Patricia. Look, it's been really lovely to talk to you. I hope you found some value in it. Do keep in touch. And as I said before, I really look forward to your next performance. Speak to you all again soon, I hope. Bye for now.